efficiency, leading on innovation for small, medium
from the gentleman opposite. He knows very well that the government is. He knows very well that the government is working very closely with the sector. He knows that we put in place a price cap, and he knows that when it comes to jobs, this government is investing, and we want to see 2 million green jobs created over the coming decades.
Blair Anderson. I certainly don't expect any more. For a moment, we've got one more question before PMQs. Flare up.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If the government had not scrapped the Green Homes grant last year, it would have saved thousands of households money. When will the Minister reform and bring back the Green Homes grant?
Mr. We are absolutely supporting the green transition across all sectors through the work that we're doing, and I'm sure that the Energy Minister will be delighted to speak to her on the issue she's raised.
Before we come to Prime Minister's questions, I'd like to point out that the British Sign Language interpretation proceedings is available to watch on Parliament Live TV. I now come to Prime Minister's questions. Chamberlain.
Hello, welcome to PMQs with Graham Hughes.
Mr. Speaker, I will shortly be updating the House on this country's fantastic progress in tackling COVID-19.
Gobshite!
Our booster programme.
Gobshite!
Enabling us to ease
Gobshite!
Plan B measures and
fucking gobshite! Fucking cunting gobshite!
I know that
fucking resign now.
That Her Majesty the Queen
fuck off
has given permission for a special
for you to
medal
fucking resign
to all those
fucking
who deployed
medal. We're gonna have a medal.
Pitting
fuck medals. Just fuck off.
The largest British evacuation.
Find the bin. Get in the bin. Pick up the bin.
The whole country.
Throw it in the sea.
Immensely
fuck off.
Of their service.
Go on.
Mr. Speaker,
fuck off forever.
I had meetings with ministerial colleagues and others. In addition to my duties in this House, I shall have further such meetings later today.
Wendy Chin.
Thank you, Mr.
Softball
Speaker.
question now.
Last year we were told by the Prime Minister there were no Downing Street parties.
Oh no, this isn't the softball question.
Then it turned out there were parties, but we were assured that no rules were broken. Last week we heard that rules may have been broken, but that he thought it was a work event. And now yesterday from the man who wrote the rules, it was, well, nobody told me what those rules were. Mr. Speaker, 5 weeks ago, the people of North Shropshire were clear, and the people of North East Fife are being clear to me now. No matter the excuse, there is no excuse for taking the British people for fools. Will the Prime Minister agree it's now time for him to resign?
Absolutely. Resign, Prime Minister. Fucking resign.
Speaker, but what I can
is that what the fuck? What is wrong with you? Just fucking resign.
I apologise sincerely for
he's apologised.
Judgments that were made.
For all the parties. He's apologised. Fucking hell. What kind of defence is that? Well, you know, Myra Hindley said sorry. She said it 10 times. I mean, leave the poor woman alone.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Jesus.
Latest evidence and research shows that the UK is the most attractive country in the world amongst young people across the G20.
What?
Amid intense soft power competition from other countries,
Where did you
including
get that
China.
idea from?
Can the Prime Minister assure me
Jesus Christ.
and other members of the British Party All-Party Group, British Council All-Party Group,
get the name right, you daft twat.
Will meet the British Council's funding requirements to ensure it doesn't have to close any more offices overseas and to ensure that it commits all its energy to retaining our top spot.
That's a good question. Why are you fucking our country, mate?
I entirely share my right honourable friend's enthusiasm for the British
guy
Council,
born
which
in
is
America
a
with a Russian name.
institution that
tells
we
you
all
everything
love,
you need to know. That's why it's funding
through the
Britain
FCDO,
abroad.
£189 million of funding this year, a 27% increase, Mr. Speaker, in spite of all the difficulties this country is facing. 27% increase on the previous financial year. We also provided
when we were in COVID, fucking lockdown. Well done
to support all the wonderful work that the British Council does.
We now come to the leader of the opposition.
Right, finally. Right, turn him in your arse, Kia. Come on, this should be the last fucking
Thank you, Mr.
PMQs.
Speaker.
Jesus
Can I
Christ.
start by warmly welcoming... Can I start...
Listen to the Prime Minister.
Can I just say, I expect people to listen to the Prime Minister. I certainly don't want the Leader of the Opposition shouted down. You might not like the day, but this is the day that we've got. Yes, sir.
Mr. Speaker, I'm not bothered. I assumed it was directed over here. Can I start by warmly welcoming the honourable member for Bury South
Not
to
you.
his new...
Yes! This is Christian
Parliamentary
Wakeford.
Labour Party.
He's a Tory
Mr. Speaker,
Red
like
Wall
so many
MP who has
people
crossed the
up and
floor
down the country,
to the
he has
from the
concluded
Conservatives
that
to
the Prime
Labour.
Minister and the Conservative Party have shown themselves incapable of offering the leadership and government this country
Yeah,
deserves.
it was just a fucking
Whereas
joke,
the Labour Party
getting
stands
pissed
ready
at our
to
expense.
provide an alternative government that the
Living it
country
up,
can be
having
proud
parties,
of.
expensive wallpaper,
Mr. Speaker,
taking
the Labour
cocaine
Party has
at
changed,
the taxpayers' expense.
and so has the
the expense of the
Conservative
nation.
Party. He and anyone else who wants to build a new Britain built on decency, security,
decency.
prosperity and respect
Yeah,
is
decency.
welcome in my Labour Party.
Yeah. Yeah,
Every week,
fuck you,
the
Tory
Prime
scums.
Minister offers absurd and frankly unbelievable defences to the Downing Street parties, and each week it unravels.
Tory scum. Tory scum. We didn't know the rules.
I've been elected the chair. I don't need to be told how to conduct the business. So if somebody wants to do some direction, I'll start directing
Always
them out of the
talking that
chamber.
way, isn't he?
Yes, Salma.
It's just people in that corner there.
Mr. Speaker, I see the very
Tory
noise. I'm
gobshites.
sure the Chief Whip has told them to bring their own booze.
Yeah. We're all laughing at Johnson. We're all laughing at Johnson.
Order. Let's try and get on with questions. It's going to be a long day, if not.
It is going to be a long fucking day. Hopefully it'll end with Boris
Speaker,
Johnson being
first
forced
he
out
said
of his
there were no
fucking party.
parties. Then the video landed, blowing that defence out the water.
Yeah, didn't
Next,
know.
he said he was sickened and furious when he found out about the parties, until it turned out that he himself was at the Downing Street garden party. Then last week he said he didn't realise he was at a party, and surprise, surprise, no one believed him. So this week, he's got a new defence. Nobody warned me that it was against the rules. That's it. And nobody told him. Since the Prime Minister wrote the rules, why on earth does he think that his new defence is going to work for him?
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, he talks about the rules, and let me repeat what I said to the honourable lady across the aisle earlier on. Of course, Mr. Speaker, we must wait for the outcome of the inquiry. But I renew what I've said, Mr. Speaker. But when it comes to
Why? You don't need a weatherman to know which way the wind blows.
Can we have a little less?
We know you're guilty. We know you did it. You were caught in the library with the fucking candlestick, with a dead body below you, with CCTV footage of you doing the fucking murder that was digitally fucking live streamed on YouTube, Twitter, and fucking Facebook.
We would have been in lockdown after July.
Oh, fuck off.
If we listen to, if this is the
I
truth,
really listen
if
to
we
this
listen to
guy.
the Labour front bench
What?
in the run-up to
What?
Christmas and New Year,
They never called for a
we were
lockdown
stating,
before Christmas.
restrictions with
No,
huge damage
stop
to the
lying.
economy.
Stop
And
fucking
it's
lying,
because
you
of the- it's
pasty
because of the
pack
judgments that
of
I've taken,
puss.
that we have taken
You are
in
the
Downing Street, that
world's
we now have
biggest
the fastest
fucking
growing
liar,
economy in
gaslighter,
the
fucking nightmare.
GDP, Mr.
Shut up,
Speaker,
you
now
twat.
up
Shut up,
above
sit down and
pre-pandemic
fuck
levels.
off.
As for Bury South, Mrs. Speaker,
I
as for-
didn't get
as
Go
for
ahead.
Bury
You're going to
South,
cry again. You're going to cry.
let me say
You're going to
to-
cry.
let
Go
me
on,
say to
cry,
the
you little cunt.
Gentlemen,
Mr. Speaker, by all leave, may I say, right honourable gentleman, that the Conservative Party won Bury South for the first time in generations under this.
Yeah, now you just lost it. And now you just lost it under this Prime Minister.
And levelling up and delivering for the people.
No, you didn't level up and you didn't deliver. You promised a rail line and then you welched on your fucking deal, you gobshite. You're a fucking liar. Where's our fucking rail line, cunt? Hey, Northern Powerhouse Rail, remember that? Brexit was going to be the land of fucking milk and honey.
It's important I hear. I want to hear both sides, and I don't want this continuous challenge. Because if we do, there'll be less people on these benches, and the same on the other
about
side.
Sending the letter in. I think that Christian Wakeford moving across the House means that the number of letters they need has gone down by one. So there's 15% of the entire party.
Did somebody want me to apologise? No, somebody shouted apologise. I hope it wasn't aimed at me. No. And so we'll also have less from that corner, Keir Starmer.
It's always the Tories.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Not only did he write the rules, but some of his staff say they did warn him about attending the party on the 20th of May 2020. Now, I've heard the Prime Minister's very carefully crafted response to that accusation. It's almost sounds like a lawyer wrote it. So I'll be equally careful with my question. When did the Prime Minister first become aware that any of his staff had concerns about the 20th of May party?
Mr. Speaker, I'm grateful to Right Honourable Gentleman for repeating the question that he's already asked. We have answered, Mr. Speaker, that it is for the inquiry to come forward.
Is he going to start going about fucking Peppa Pig now?
What happened? And I'm afraid he simply
doing an inquiry into Peppa fucking Pig.
Staff, Mr. Speaker, he asked about my staff and what my staff are doing and what they have told me. And I can tell him, Mr. Speaker, that they have taken decisions throughout this pandemic
to have a fucking party while everyone else was in fucking lockdown, while people couldn't see their fucking loved ones. You cunt!
Vaccine rollout.
People couldn't hold the hands of their loved ones while they died. British people in this country died alone in their hospital beds because this cunt made a fucking lockdown rule that we all kept to, and this fucker was having fucking parties, fucking Roman toga parties. Fuck off, go fuck yourself to death forever, cunt.
Keir Starmer.
So, Mr. Speaker, apparently Sue Gray is going to tell the Prime Minister when he first became aware that his staff had concerns about the May 20th. The Prime Minister's account gets more extraordinary with each version of his defence. If the Prime Minister's new defence were true, it requires him to suggest that his staff are not being truthful when they say they warned him about the party. It requires the Prime Minister to expect us to believe that whilst every other person who was invited on the 20th of May to the party was told it was a social occasion, he alone was told it was a work meeting. It also requires the Prime Minister to ask us to accept that as he waded through the empty bottles and platters of sandwiches, he didn't realise it was a party. Does the Prime Minister realise how ridiculous that sounds?
Go on, do you understand how ridiculous it sounds? Answer the fucking question. Go. Answer the question, you fucking blob.
The events in number 10, he will have to wait for the report. And Mr. Speaker, I think he asks for further clarification. I think there are lots of people who are interested. I say this entirely in passing, Mr. Speaker. Lots of people are interested in the exact legal justification from the learned leader of the opposition for the picture of him drinking a pint of beer.
Oh, brilliant! A fucking single beer compared with a party for over 100 invites. 40 people in his back garden partying. And he's got a fuzzy photograph from 8 months ago, Keir Starmer having a beer.
Across government have been working flat out to protect the British public with huge quantities of PPE, so we can now make 80%
PPE that your mate's got, half of which doesn't fucking work properly. Not fit for purpose.
And the fastest
and the four billion that's just been written off by the Chancellor given to fraudsters. 4 billion of your fucking money, mate. I'm not talking to him, I'm talking to you.
At the speed that we did.
Not his money, it's never his money, is it?
Mr. Speaker, if the Prime Minister thinks the only accusation he faces that he once had a beer with the takeaway, then Operation Save Big Dog is in deeper trouble than I thought. If a Prime Minister misleads Parliament, should they resign?
Yes.
So, Mr. Speaker, let's be absolutely clear. The Right Honourable Gentleman is continuing to ask a series of questions which he knows will be fully addressed by the inquiry.
What? That's not an inquiry question! That is not an inquiry question, you daft cunt! What the fuck are you on about, you fucking stupid blancmange? What the fuck? We have to check Sue Gray to see if murder's against the law. No, if you break the ministerial code, you should resign. That is nothing to do with Sue Gray. You massive twat. Oh my God. What a gobshite. What a shitburger. What a fuck-brained ass fuck. Oh my God, I hate this cunt.
To come forward.
I don't think I've ever hated another human being so much in my entire fucking life. This guy, he's off the fucking charts, isn't he? Trump was only fucking over his own country, really. This guy.
Mr. Speaker, and it was a result of
fucking hell. Sue Gray has to tell him whether, under the ministerial regulations, you should resign if you misled the House. The Prime Minister knowingly misleads the House. Yes, you should resign.
I know it's not going well, Prime Minister, but look on the bright side. At least the staff at number 10 know how to pack a suitcase.
Hey, full of booze.
Mr. Speaker, last year, Her Majesty the Queen sat alone when she marked the passing of the man she'd been married to for 73 years. She followed the rules of the country that she leads. On the eve of that funeral, a suitcase was filled with booze and wheeled into Downing Street. A DJ played and staff partied late into the night. The Prime Minister has been forced to hand an apology to Her Majesty the Queen. Isn't he ashamed that he didn't hand in his resignation at the same time?
Mr. Speaker, I understand why the Right Honourable Gentleman continues to politicise issues.
Politicise?
Sorry, Prime Minister. We normally would not, and quite rightly, mention the royal family. We don't get into discussions on the royal family.
Well, in that case, Mr. Speaker, I must ask the Right Honourable Gentleman to withdraw it.
I've dealt with it. Keir Starmer. Keir Starmer, are you going to...
Go on, sit down, you daft bollock. Fucking sit down, you pube.
Order. Prime Minister,
pick up the mace.
we don't want to go through that again.
With it.
I'll make the decisions. The answer is that the next question I'm going back to Keir Starmer to ask his final question. Keir Starmer. There you go.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Whilst the Prime Minister wastes energy defending the indefensible, people's energy bills are rocketing. Labour has a plan to deal with it. Axe VAT for everyone, provide extra support for the hardest hit, and pay for it with a one-off tax on oil and gas companies. A serious plan for a serious problem. What's the government offering? Nothing. Too distracted by their own chaos to do their job. While Labour was setting out plans to heat homes, he was buying a fridge to keep the party wine chilled. While we were setting out plans to keep bills down, he was planning parties. While we were setting out plans to save jobs in the steel industry, he was trying to save just one job, his own. Doesn't the country deserve so much better than this out of touch, out of control, out of ideas, and soon to be out of office Prime Minister?
Right, go on. Fuck off.
I'll tell you what this government has been doing to look after the people of this country throughout this pandemic.
Vaccines. Mention vaccines. Mention Brexit. Go on. Brexit. Vaccines. Come on. What else have you been doing, cunt? Come on, cunt. You've been creating more unemployment, but you don't regard it as unemployment because you're not claiming benefits because you made it so difficult to claim benefits.
Can I just say to everyone in here, our constituents wants to hear the questions and the answers.
The people watching this don't really give a fuck.
Members of this United
It's
Kingdom,
quite cathartic to just scream obscenities over the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom and
the questions and answers.
Great Britain and Northern Ireland.
Speaker, we will continue to look after people throughout this pandemic and
shut up, you twat!
But
Shut up! Shut up! Sit down! What else have you done? Cutting crime! No, you haven't. Crime's gone up in the last 11 years under you cunts. And you're the biggest fucking criminals of the lot, you fucking gobshites. Stealing our money, giving it to Fulsards, giving it to your fucking mates. Oh, is he talking about his hospitals that he's built that he hasn't fucking built? Brilliant, sorry, don't mean to hit the table. Wow! Fucking hell, this guy is on another fucking planet.
More employees on the payroll now.
More employees on the payroll? What? What? Hey, what?
And unemployment, youth
population's gone up a bit.
Record low,
so
Mr.
what?
Speaker.
Do you know why else more people on the fucking payroll, ladies and gentlemen? Because more pensioners, like my mum, are having to fucking work into their 70s because of these cunts! Fuck off! Gobshite.
We delivered while they dithered, and we.
Oh god, he's doing old.
While they vacillated.
He's mentioned the vaccines. He's mentioned the vaccines. What a desperate man. What a pathetic, desperate man.
In Europe, and we have
Harvey Weinstein. But I produced Pulp Fiction and the Lord of the Rings movies. I mean, doesn't get you off the hook for the crimes you've committed, Prime Minister. You massive shite. What's his name? Jeffrey Epstein. No, he was a philanthropist. Think of all the philanthropy he did. Jimmy Savile. Oh, he did a lot of work for hospitals, but he was fucking the corpses in them.
Oh, you'll get more if you let the questions come. Not pausing.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Following on from the excellent news on the economy and jobs, the Prime Minister will remember.
The guy here is just like looking at the ceiling, going, "Please make this end."
Gigafactory in Coventry. Last week, local councils granted outline planning permission to create 6,000 new skilled jobs, to secure many thousands of others, inject £2.5 billion into our local economy and level up across our region. With fast rising demand for greener and cleaner electric cars, may I ask him for his support to ensure the swift delivery of this vitally important project?
I thank my honourable friend for campaigning for this wonderful project, and we are supporting the electric vehicle industry. We've made another £350 million
washing machines.
Automotive Transformation Fund on top of the £500 million commitment that we've already made in the 10-point plan. I know that the campaign for Coventry Airport is an excellent one. I look forward to seeing how it develops.
We now come to the leader of the SNP, Ian Blackford.
Ian Blackford, yes, good man.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
All hail
this week
Wangland.
Was supposed to be Operation Save Big Dog, but it's quickly become Operation Dog's Dinner. Over the past few days, we've had more damaging revelations about Downing Street rulemaking, more evidence that Parliament has been misled, and an even longer list of ludicrous, absolutely ludicrous excuses from the Prime Minister.
He's laughing at us. First he's laughing at his own voters who were credulous enough to believe this shit.
Present. Then he admitted he was at them, but he didn't know it was a party. And then, Mr. Speaker, the latest sorry excuse is really the most pathetic of them all. Nobody told me. Nobody told me. Nobody told the Prime Minister he was breaking his own rules. Absolutely pathetic.
Look at him, he thinks it's a fucking joke. He thinks it's a fucking joke. Look at him. What a gobshite.
The Prime Minister laughing once again.
He just thinks it's funny. It's all a terrific fucking wheeze to him.
The public for schools. Nobody believes him. Will the Prime Minister finally take responsibility? Resign. Go, Prime Minister.
No, Mr. Speaker, but I thank him for his question again, and let me just remind him that there's an inquiry that is due to conclude. I believe he is wrong in what he asserts, Mr. Speaker, but we'll have to wait and see what
he said. What you said yesterday. You said you didn't know it was wrong. You daft twat.
From the point of view of the UK government is that we're coming out of the restrictions that we've been in. I'm delighted to see that that's happening in Scotland as well.
That I hate.
And that is very largely thanks to the wonderful cooperation that we continue to see across the whole of the UK, though you wouldn't believe it to hear it from him.
Here, Blackburn.
Mr. Speaker, I'm afraid nobody is buying this act anymore. Well, there ought to be some respect and dignity from the Prime Minister. Let's remind ourselves, more than 150,000 of our citizens have died, and he's partying, he's laughing. Mr. Speaker, it simply isn't acceptable. The fake contrition, the endless excuses, the empty promises that it will be different only if we give him one last chance. This is a Prime Minister who arrogantly believes that he's above the rules. A Prime Minister who brazenly twists the truth. A Prime Minister who simply isn't fit for office. The Prime Minister's former Chief Advisor has said that he lied to Parliament, breaking the ministerial code. Prime Minister, a resignation offence. Public trust is hemorrhaging. With every day that passes...
Look at him looking at his watch! Oh, fuck off, Johnson! You disrespectful cunt!
Finally do the right thing. Show the Prime Minister the door.
What a fucking nightmare Boris Johnson is. What a fucking nightmare. Just fuck off so the country can wake up from this fucking nightmare.
When you look at the levels of
go on,
the British
fuck off, cunt.
People in Scotland, Wales, North
vote of no confidence today from Tories, please. Fucking get out of Downing Street tomorrow.
Index, Mr. Speaker,
on the anniversary of the blonde cunt leaving office.
To come forward voluntarily, Mr. Speaker, unlike many other countries in the world, to get vaccinated on a scale not seen anywhere else in Europe. And that is because of our ability and the NHS's ability to persuade people that it's the right thing. It's a fantastic thing. And by the way, Mr. Speaker, it's also a tribute to the United Kingdom, because that vaccine rollout was a UK effort.
Paul Benson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. When it comes to exporting, as you're well aware, file punches well above its weight. And the Prime Minister saw this when he visited BAE Systems' Factory of the Future in Lancashire last year. In addition, fantastic local businesses such as Helical Technologies, Tangerine Holdings and Nature's Aid are doing a great job for flying the flag for Lancashire globally. But I've also got many smaller businesses who are eager to get exporting into new markets. What steps is the Prime Minister taking to help file businesses make the most of Brexit and maximise export potential?
Well, I thank him for championing. I thank him for what he's doing to champion trade with
turn Boris Johnson down there because he's such a cunt. So a couple of things I just want to pick up on. First of all, thank you so much, Richard, for that amazing super chat that came in while I was screaming obscenities at Boris Johnson. Oh, here we go. Next question.
Speaker, as the cost of living crisis deepens, this government's priorities get ever more remote from my Kirkcaldy Cowdenbeath constituency. Only this week, I learned a veteran in my constituency, James Scott, took his own life as a result of his struggle with mounting financial pressures. This is a government who are found to have acted unlawfully by the High Court over COVID contracts and now preparing to write off £4.3 billion allocated to those COVID schemes. Why can the UK government find billions of pounds for profiteers and fraudsters, but they can't find compassion to treat the people with dignity, lifting the benefits cap and reinstating the cut to universal credit?
Well, first of all, Mr. Speaker, I want to say how sorry I am for what he's had to say about James Scott, and this government does as much as we can to support veterans, and that's why we published the Veterans Action Plan.
Fucking liar!
Only the other day, Mr. Speaker. But what we're also doing is ensuring that we support people throughout this crisis. He mentions, and I've said in my answer to the right honourable gentleman,
supporting your mates and
many of the
fraudsters,
steps that
mate.
we're taking to protect
supporting
people on
Dido fucking Harden with their
£37
billion
that she's the contracts for PPE. Actually, I think it was an astonishing thing at great speed to be able to give this country 17 billion items of PPE, thanks to the efforts of people across Whitehall. Mr. Speaker, this country is now capable of producing 80% of our own PPE.
Kate Griffiths.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Shortly before before Christmas, my constituent, Oliver Freckleton, was found at home having been stabbed to death on the eve of his 20th birthday. Yesterday, his heartbroken parents held their son's funeral. Oliver leaves behind a partner and a baby daughter, and 2 teenagers have been arrested for his murder.
Crime is bad. Teenagers
now, this tragic
crimes.
event leaves behind a devastated family, friends, and a very worried community. I'm grateful for the work that Staffordshire Police is undertaking to tackle violent crime in my constituency, and the extra 149 additional police officers recruited is very welcome. But does the Prime Minister agree with me that a multi-stakeholder approach is vital to tackling crimes amongst our young people? And what can the government do to support not just the police, but schools, colleges and local authorities in working to address this issue?
My honourable friend, first of all, I'm very sad to hear the news of the loss of her constituent, Oliver. And like so many victims of violent crime, the answer, as is the case with so many victims, the answer is not just policing, though that is vitally important, and that's why we're investing so massively in 20,000 more police officers and supporting them with toughening the law, Mr. Speaker. But it's also, as she rightly says, important to get all the institutions of the state to work together: schools, colleges, social services, and the health service, mental health service.
All the things that you've been defunding over the years.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Why is it so hard for this Prime Minister to admit that he made the rules, so he should know the rules and he should follow the rules? Everyone out there knows it's as simple as that. And if he had any shred of compassion for all those out there who've suffered through this, he'd go.
Mr. Speaker, I entirely understand people's feelings, and I entirely support what she says about obeying the rules when you make the rules. She's completely right. On the other hand, I do urge her to wait, as I've said to the benches, to wait until next week.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Why do you need to
the opposition have been told there's going to be an inquiry. They've raised every single question on one issue. Well, my constituents wants to get on with other things. In January 2021, the government estimated that at least 800 million will be released from the Dormant Assets Scheme extension. Does he agree with me that funding through a new community wealth fund will be a catalyst to level up the most left-behind communities, and the bill should include specific provision for a consultation on the scope, shape and nature of such a fund?
Mr. Speaker, we certainly are legislating to, thank you very much, we will be legislating to expand the Dormant Assets Scheme to include new financial assets, which would unlock an estimated £880 million. We'll be considering how to spend the English portion of that, and the community wealth fund that he proposes is certainly an option. I thank him very much.
Peter Grant.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My constituent Anne has told me a friend saw the ambulance outside the house on the night Anne's husband died. She wasn't allowed to go into the house to comfort her friend. Anne's husband went to his rest in an almost empty building, while scores of his friends stood freezing outside. Anne went home to an empty house to grieve the rest of the day alone. My constituent Susan wasn't allowed to go in the ambulance or even follow the ambulance, blue light and all, after her husband had a heart attack. Other constituents had the heartbreaking realisation they weren't allowed to go into care homes to break the news in person to their relatives that someone else in the family had died. Mr. Speaker, in their words, not mine, in their words, the Prime Minister is a charlatan, a hypocrite and a liar. What will he now say to our constituents?
Look, I know you're repeating what your constituents said. I want more moderate and temperate language.
Fuck off, call him a fucking liar, because he's a fucking liar.
Thank you, Mr.
He's just
Speaker.
repeating what someone else said.
It's
a great way of getting around it.
I understand the feelings that he has relayed to me, as I said last week, and I sympathise very deeply.
You're a liar. You're a liar.
with
You are a liar.
understand,
You're a fucking liar.
people feel
You
as
are a
they
liar.
do. I
You
thank
are a
people very
fucking
much for
liar.
everything they have
All
done.
you
I
do
recognise
is lie
the enormous
and
sacrifice
cheat
that people
and
have made.
steal.
I
You are a
apologise for
fucking
misjudgments
scumbag.
may be
You
made
are
in number 10 by
the
me,
worst of
and
us. You are
anybody
the
else,
worst human
but
being
please can I
that
ask
has
him to
ever
wait,
fucking
for the
existed.
inquiry to conclude.
The inquiry that's being run by one of his
I
employees.
recently attended a debate held by my honourable friend for West Aberdeenshire and Kincardine, seeking a central London memorial for the Photographic Reconnaissance Unit. And in it I reference my Northampton South constituent,
voice
mosquito
does
pilot,
not match, does it?
Mr. George Pritchard, who is 98 next week and is one of the last surviving members of the unit. Will the Prime Minister join my honourable friend, me and Mr. Pritchard in backing this fitting and needed memorial?
I thank him very much, and I will certainly do what I can to support it. Though, of course,
pensioners are freezing to death in their own homes because their energy bills have skyrocketed.
What this House and what this government can certainly do
is
ensure
about
that
washing
memorials
machines,
are not
statues,
as they have been across this country, and make sure that we support.
I'm going to desecrate your fucking memorial, you cunt. Shit all over your grave. Actually, no, I'll dance on it first, then I'll shit on it. Go and get shit on my shoes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, when a Prime Minister is spending his time trying to convince the great British public that he's actually stupid rather than dishonest, isn't it time that he goes now?
Lie, cheat, say.
Mr. Speaker, I think that was a question for you rather than me, but I'm not. Look, I've made my point. I think that the British public have responded to what this government has had to say.
It's responded by literally your popularity ratings going off a fucking cliff.
They have helped to defeat COVID so far, Mr. Speaker, with the steps they have taken by getting vaccinated and implementing Plan B, and I thank them.
Just for the Prime Minister, for the record, it's not Speaker's questions. Mr. Robert Goodall.
Our armed forces have earned the respect and admiration of our nation, not least during the pandemic. On Remembrance Sunday, we commemorate their sacrifices, but on Armed Forces Day, on the 25th of June, we will celebrate all that is amazing about our Army, Navy and Air Force. In a normal year, we get about 20,000 people at the event in Scarborough, but this year we will finally host, after twice being postponed, National Armed Forces
Remember the
Day.
war! Remember the war! I don't give a fuck about the war. It's over. It's over. It's over. It's over. It was over 30 years before I was born. It's over. The war is over. Stop going on about it. It's sick.
That Armed Forces Day will be absolutely spectacular across the country. And Scarborough will make a terrific and a notable contribution as well.
Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Last April, I asked the Prime Minister if he agreed with the principle that politicians shouldn't lie. He replied that he concurred with the basic principle that the Honourable Gentleman has just enunciated. Would he like to amend the record?
No, Mr. Speaker.
Simon Hall.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The vast majority of people, and indeed politicians across Northern Ireland, believe that whatever the question, double jobbing is not the answer.
Simon.
Could I urge my right honourable friend to listen to the majority and ask him not to move the government amendment in the other place later today?
I'm grateful to my honourable friend, and
the other place is the House of Lords. They can't call it the House of Lords because you can't mention the House of Lords. You can't call someone by their real name.
Mr. Speaker,
and you can't call someone a liar.
My constituents are rightly angry
if you can call them
at
a
the
cunt.
Prime Minister's behaviour. But while Downing Street fights to save his political life, people across the North East are worrying about rising food and energy bills, rising unemployment and rising levels of child poverty. He talks about levelling up, but my constituents are seeing opportunities cut. Does the Prime Minister agree with me that his government has failed and it's time for him to go?
No, Mr. Speaker, I really don't agree with her, and I don't think she could have been following anything that's being said this afternoon. We have unemployment falling to near record lows, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah, because people aren't claiming because they're living with their parents or living on the fucking streets, you cunt.
Mr. Speaker.
You've made it so difficult to claim the dole or universal credit, whatever the fuck you want to call it these days. And what it is a fucking pittance.
Like many on these benches, I've spent weeks and months defending the Prime Minister against often angry constituents. I've reminded them of his success in delivering Brexit and on the vaccine.
However,
and many other things.
Come on, turn on him.
But I expect my leaders to shoulder the responsibility for the actions they take. Yesterday, he did the opposite of that.
Yeah.
So I'll remind him of a quotation altogether too familiar to him of Leo Amory.
He might be useful for a moment.
You have sat there too long for all the good you have done. In the name of God, go.
Oh, fuck yes! Oh, look at the Tories! Look at the fucking Tories! Oh yes! That was a Tory MP, ex-minister, telling him to fucking go.
I'm not saying to the right honourable gentleman, I don't know what he's talking about.
Brilliant.
But
Brilliant.
what I can
Well
tell
done,
him,
David Davis.
I
Never
don't
thought
know
I'd say those
what
words.
he's alluding to that he's referring. But what I can tell him,
I
and I think I've told this repeatedly throughout this pandemic,
Fuck off.
I take full
Fuck off.
responsibility for
Fuck off.
everything done
Well then,
in this
fuck
government,
off. Well, sling your fucking hook then. Go on, off you fuck.
Does the Prime Minister agree with the Leader of the House that the Leader of the Scottish Conservatives is a lightweight?
Oh, this is quite entertaining, isn't it?
The Conservative approach to the Union is one that I think is right for our country. We want to keep it.
The Conservative approach. I think Glasgow just said Boris Johnson's actually an asset for people who want an independent Scotland.
Their stout defiance, their stout defence of the Union was repaid at the last election, and Labour, Mr. Speaker, is increasingly endangering our Union.
Link Drummond.
Mr. Speaker, and many people last week
Tell the Prime Minister he's a cunt. Go on. I'll do it.
On smart motorways. However, the M27 is due to open as a smart motorway in a couple of months.
Flick!
What reassurance
What kind of name is Flick?
Constituents in Moon Valley and others in the rest of South Hampshire that the M27
Anyone else use that as a euphemism for female masturbation?
I thank you very much, and I can assure her.
Her name's Flick.
That,
to be very careful how she writes that name,
aware
eh?
of the,
Bit like Clint Eastwood.
Risks associated with the smart motorway
Don't
scheme,
use joined up
and
letters.
My right honourable friend, the Secretary of State for Transport, is looking at it right now.
Make sure the L's really long.
We now come to the Prime Minister's COVID-19 statement. I now call the Prime Minister.
I now call the Prime Minister a cunt. The biggest fucking cunt of all time. There you go, everyone's fucking off. Look, everyone leaving.
Prime Minister, just let the...
Yeah, let everyone go, you daft twat. Read the room.
Can we please leave
Read the
quickly
room.
and quietly?
Ah, go fuck yourselves. Go fuck yourselves, all of yous. Hate yous all. You've all a gang of gobshites. You've all a gang of absolute fucking gobshites. Well, the Tories.
Prime
Most of the
Minister,
Tories. Fucking
Mr. Speaker,
Tories,
with permission, I
man.
will make a statement on
What
our
a
progress
bunch of
against
shite.
Omicron and the review of our Plan B
Absolute
measures.
fucking
Within hours of learning from scientists in
of
South Africa about the
gobshites.
emergence of a new COVID variant last November, this government acted, introducing balanced and proportionate restrictions at our borders to slow the seeding
I'm just going to
of
turn
Omicron
this cunt
in our
down.
country.
Bye, 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 bye. Fuck off. Hello. Hello and welcome to PMQs with Graham Hughes. It is Wednesday, the 19th of January 2022. Again, huge big thank you to Richard there for a massive super chat that came in while I was screaming obscenities at the Prime Minister. Also, big thank you to Alexis. I saw a £2 super chat coming in. You're going to have to give me a moment because I've just done something really stupid while I was talking to you there. And I closed a window that I shouldn't have closed. So I need to just find your messages again coming up, because otherwise they'll be really, really tiny on my little monitor, because it's a monitor of what you can see, but it's only like this big. So I had to look at it really closely to see your messages coming in. And yes, but I will be with you momentarily if I go to your channel, and I'll go through your messages that have come in. But just before we do that, oh my God, what a pile of shit Boris Johnson is. What an absolute piece of human detritus this motherfucker is. He is the flotsam and jetsam of humanity. Actually, he's more flotsam than jetsam, because let's face it, fat floats. He shit floats as well. He is just the most horrific human being imaginable. He is like a psychopathic child in the body of a man. He's like American Psycho, but it's British Psycho. That is him. That is Boris Johnson. He's like, the American Psycho. He's all like obsessed with his image and how he looks and his business cards. Boris Johnson's the opposite of that. He's one of these aristocratic cunts, and I fucking hate these type of people who dress up like a fucking scarecrow to make you think that you have anything in common with them. And this is something that has been going on in British politics and in British life for a very, very long time. So that you think, and usually there's a racial element to this as well. White working class kids, they look at Boris Johnson and go, oh, he's a scruffy bastard. I'm a scruffy bastard. I go to school, I have my shirt untucked. They feel like they have a natural affinity with him because he's white. But they don't have a natural affinity with their next door neighbours because they might be from India or Pakistan or Bangladesh or a country in Africa. Or the West Indies, even. They don't feel affinity with them. The people in the same socioeconomic bracket as them, their next door neighbours, the people who live in the same area as them, they feel an affinity with Boris Johnson. This is how damaging the concept of whiteness is. The concept of whiteness was only invented a few hundred years ago. It's quite a new thing. And it was invented in response to slavery. Well, as an excuse for slavery. It was like, no, you can't enslave these people because they're, come on, give me a name here. White. You know, the word Caucasian is bonkers to me. I'm not Caucasian. I don't look anything like the people in the Caucasus. The people in the Caucasus have big fucking eyebrows and very, very dark hair. I don't. I'm more Celtic, if you want to call me that. But at the same time, I have so little in common with the lives of people living in the Caucasus right now. But that's what I'm called. I'm called Caucasian. They've made up this term to go, oh, well, you're all lumped in together. You and Boris Johnson and Jacob Rees-Mogg, you're all in it together. And then there's everyone else. There's the people, you know, who don't look like us. They're different. And that this pernicious sort of brain worm that people have got in their heads, especially in sort of lower middle class and working class communities, is this thing of like, oh well, if I win the lottery, I can be like Boris Johnson. Well, maybe if you turn into a massive cunt, but yeah, the chances of you winning the lottery are fucking infinitesimal. They're tiny. They're absolutely tiny. And I asked a friend of mine in America once, why do people living in a swamp in Alabama with no teeth and no front door, why do they continue to vote for the fucking Republican Party? And he said, because they don't see themselves as poor, they see themselves as disadvantaged millionaires, and one day they'll win the lottery, and when that happens, they don't want the government taking 40%. That's not even something that happens in this country, believe it or not. I mean, if you win the lottery, you get to keep all the money yourself. In America, you get taxed on prizes, which is an interesting thing with the game show that I was on in America, in which I won Ginger Island. Some of the American contestants didn't really fight as hard as I did because they knew that the prize that they would get would only be 60% of the prize, whereas I'll get 100% because I'm British and we don't get taxed on winnings. Fun fact on prize winnings. Anyway, so wow, I've got loads of new super chats here. This is amazing. Thank you so much. Alexander Campbell, £4.49. They should have kept their mouths shut. Last week it was Bojo and this week it was Joss Whedon. Yeah, Joss Whedon. Privately educated, Winchester College, boys and girls. I'm not fucking kidding. Privately educated in Britain. His father was a scriptwriter and his grandfather was a scriptwriter as well. And apparently he treats people on his on the sets of Buffy, Firefly, and other things that he's made like shit. Where did he learn to treat people like shit? Can anyone have a think? Well, I think he learned to treat people like shit. Do you want to know what I think? I think he learned to treat people like shit in the same place that Boris Johnson learned to treat people like shit. And Tim Martin and James Dyson and Jacob Rees-Mogg and Michael Gove and the fucking Cressida Dick and Dominic Cummings and Aaron Banks and Nigel Farage and Andy Wigmore and Daniel Hannan and all of these cunts. They all learned how to treat people like shit in the private school that they fucking well attended. Had a conversation with a mate of mine last night. Told me something I didn't know. One of the presenters on Newsnight. Shit, I've forgotten her name. Privately educated. But her private education in Manchester, the grammar school in Manchester, which it's called the grammar school, but it's actually a private school. It was paid for by her dad's prostitution business. Her dad was a pimp. And I know, you can't charge the children for the sins of the father. However, the sins of her father of bringing women, trafficking women to this country for prostitution with the consent of the Greater Manchester Police, by the way. Yay, up the fuzz. Jesus Christ, when I was growing up, it was just the South Yorkshire Police who were gobshites. Now it's the South Yorkshire Police, Greater Manchester Police, and the Met. Oh my God, don't get me started. But yeah, fascinating. Johnny Vaughan, a guy who I really like. I was on Movie Watch in the 90s. I met him a few times. We went out drinking. He was a top bloke. However, he got done, right, get this, for conspiracy to supply £60,000 worth of cocaine. Yeah, to an undercover policeman. Didn't know he was an undercover policeman, did you, Johnny? Now, anyone else, as my friend said yesterday, the closest they would get to being on television would be, I don't know, cleaning the local Curry's department store, the television store, whatever it is. Electronic store, isn't it? But, and yet, he went to private school. Different rules, mate. Different rules apply if you went to private school. I can give you loads more fucking examples, but it is just painful. Another thing that was painful, and another thing was this morning on James O'Brien, a guy rang in, some dothery old fuck, and he said, and the question was, why did you vote for the Conservatives in a red wall seat? And his excuses were, I get this, there was a school trip. I didn't catch where they went or something, but apparently there was a school trip at a school he didn't go to and his children didn't attend in a different constituency. And I don't know, they were supposed to, I don't know what it was because I missed it. If someone could tell me in the chat what it was about the school trip, that irked him so, but it was something ridiculous. Anyway, the second one was that there was a community centre, a children's daycare centre, in a constituency in which he doesn't live and doesn't have children in that centre, that are taking bacon off the menu because some of the children were obviously either Muslim or Jewish or maybe just vegetarian. And this was the big issue of the day for this daft old twat. And I'm just like going, oh my God, like how thick are these people who vote Conservative? Anyway, then he topped it off with the fact that at his local library, I think it's a local library, the women were allowed to use the toilet, willy-nilly. Whereas if a man wanted to use the toilet, the library kind of, were a bit snooty about it. Yes, they were a bit snooty. They still let him use the fucking loo, but they were a bit snooty about it. They went, oh, it's for emergencies only, really. Why are women allowed to use the toilet? I'll tell you why, fuckwit. Because of 1,000 years of architectural sexism in which the women's toilets are the same size as the men's toilet. When, if you hadn't already worked this out, you need a lot less space for a male toilet than you do for a female toilet, because a female toilet, don't tell J.K. Rowling this, I don't think she's ever used a public toilet in the last fucking 30 years. They're in separate cubicles. You need more space. And that is why there is always a queue for the girls' toilets in nightclubs, and there's never a queue for the boys. There's always a queue for the girls' toilets in a bar, never a queue for the boys. And yet this guy's like, oh, women are getting priority. They're getting I'm going to vote Conservative now for the rest of my life. It's disgrace. Oh my God. They walk amongst us. They walk amongst us. Anyway, so back into the chat. I've had loads of super chats come in. This is amazing. Thank you so much. Yorosh has given €20. Easy on the blood pressure, Graham. Well, when he goes, it's gonna be amazing. It's gonna be great. I'm thinking of buying some fireworks just in case, but I don't want to preempt it. And then he doesn't go, and then I've got a load of fireworks that I don't get to set off. That's happened to me before when I've had something exciting. I had this amazing meme set up for when we won the referendum in 2016. It was me in front of this giant Union flag. Oh my God, the flag shaggers would have won it. And I'm like this, yeah. And it says, thank you, Britain. And I never got to post it because, we voted to leave the EU. Motherfuckers. So yeah, I don't want to preempt it, but fucking hell, let's set off some fucking fireworks when that gobshite goes. During the day or something, I don't know. Get those silent ones so they don't upset the animals. The Prophet Muhammad said, treat your children equally. If you can't treat your daughters better. If you can't treat your daughters better. Indeed. So he's a modern version of a washing machine man. Indeed. Bacon guy. David Davis just stabbed him in the front. Also compared him to Chamberlain. Nice touch. Yeah, that was something else. That was brilliant. Intervention by an absolute gobshite. But they're all gobshite, so, But David Davis standing up and saying that the Prime Minister must go. How can he come back from this? How can he come back from this? I think it's going to be... not impossible, but I mean, The only thing I can think of is how much Trump didn't want to leave office, and I think Boris Johnson is very similar in that respect. Trump had to leave the White House because he fucking lost that election, although most of his fans don't understand that he lost because they don't understand the concept of reality. But with Boris Johnson, our rules, because we don't have a written constitution, it's really hard to shift someone if they don't want to be shifted. If they don't want to resign, and they can make sure that there's still half of the members of Parliament will vote for them to stay on. It's very, very difficult. And people are saying, but you know, if they win the vote with no confidence, then they're safe for a year. Yeah. Tell that to Theresa May. Anyway, so, you know, there are some MPs that I'm sure are hanging on for this fucking whitewash report from Sue Gray, which is just going to be so... I mean, this is a commissioned report to her boss, about her boss. And she's going to give it to her boss. I mean, just what? That should happen tomorrow, by the way. He should get to read it tomorrow. I'm not saying that he should. I'm saying this is what's going to happen, probably, is he will read it tomorrow. She'll give it to him tomorrow to read. And then on Friday, it will be released to the public, I assume. But the idea that he didn't know it was wrong to have a big fuck-off party, and, well, you know, it's not that bad because vaccines, Brexit vaccines, and Keir Starmer had a beer once. Is just, it's painful. It's fucking painful. So thank you very much for the super chats. Now, I've opened the chat up a little bit late, so I don't have access to older chats from before 12:30. So if anyone gave a super chat in before 12:30, can you please let me know so I can thank you personally for that super chat? But yeah, Richard, thank you very much for that 50 quid, mate. I really, really appreciate it. And as you know, I'm feeling the squeeze just as much as anyone else. And you know, please give what you can. I don't, you know, obviously everyone else is kind of in the same boat at the moment with this absolute carnival, this screaming monkey clown car on fire going off a cliff. That is our fucking government at the moment. These are the people in charge. They're in charge of the country. This isn't a game. You know, for Boris Johnson, it's all a bit of a laugh. He doesn't need to work. He doesn't need to fucking do anything. All he needs to do is just, you know, have parties. He can do that somewhere else. Why can't we have someone who actually wants the job for good reasons in charge of the country? Why can't we have someone who takes the job seriously in charge of the country? That's all we're asking. Just fucking take the job seriously. The job that you wanted so badly. Fucking do it then. Fucking do it. But no. Our big thanks to Nico, the member for 5 months. He's on level 1. Keep it coming, Graham. Thank you very much. James O'Brien rant yesterday was his best ever, says Reagan Lee. I absolutely agree. If you can check out James O'Brien going off on one yesterday, it was brilliant. And the fact that he managed to go for a whole 7.5 minutes without saying fuck or cunt is just remarkable. He said bloody twice, but he can, if you can find that on LBC's Twitter account or on the website, please do. It is an epic rant. Oh my god, 10 euro super chat from Nico. Thank you very much, Nico. You are an absolute fucking legend, mate. Lots of this. Number 3, Eton College is now a museum. What's in it? Just tweeted. Thanks. What? I may have to wind that back and listen to David Davis. Eton is not a museum, is it? Is it a museum? I was there a couple of years ago. It didn't look like a museum to me. It had a nice chapel. But this very, very posh guy who showed me around, student actually, sixth former, and he was like, "Oh, welcome to Eton College, and you know, we'll give you a tour of the estate." And we walked around, went to the old chapel that was built in fucking 490 AD or something, and then we went to have something to eat, and he was really, really posh. And I said to him, "Where are you from?" He went, "Oh, I'm from Oklahoma." And I'm like, what? What? And basically, he sounded more British than me. But he was literally from another country. Oh my god. Yeah, but they teach you how to eat right and speak right and lie and cheat and steal. That's what these cunt farms teach people, and I am sick of them. And I'm sick of the excuses because you're defending the indefensible. I know some of you think that maybe you went to a private school, or your kids go to a private school, or maybe you think I should be less fucking, angry about the fact that these fucking places exist. But they do. And when you have people who are presenters on British TV who are there, I mean, they're good. She's a good presenter. I wish I remember her name. Barnett. Barnett? Was it? Barnett? Was it? Oh, I can't remember. I'm going to look it up on Facebook. When you have people in a position like that, and she's good at her job, but I'm good at my job. There are hundreds of people out there who would be good at that job, but she had the contacts to get it. And I feel like these people, these rich people, are hogging all the top jobs when, in some cases, they don't fucking need to work. I know that's not everybody, but like there are some people who literally do not need to fucking work, and yet, they're taking the top jobs from the rest of us, the jobs they don't need. Richard Bacon snorting coke on fucking on Blue Pizza. Would he have ever worked again if he went to a state school? I don't really think so. Emma Barnett, her name is. Emma Barnett. She's a presenter on Newsnight. And like I say, she's good. She's on the radio as well. She's a good presenter. But the fact that her schooling was paid for through the prostitution, the pimping of women, the people trafficking of women who were then sexually assaulted, women who thought they were coming here to do a cleaning job, and then they ended up being forced in a position to have sex with gruesome old men, gruesome overweight old men, raping these women. And then the guy making the money out of that, he's using that money to pay for his daughter's education, and now she is part of the establishment. She's part of the fucking neo-aristocracy in one generation. And that's not going to be the only story there. Most of the accumulated wealth in this country has come from piracy, rape, pillaging, fucking colonialism, now neo-colonialism, turning up in someone else's country and stealing all their shit. How long are we going to put up with this? How long? I never thought I'd become a fucking class warrior. Jesus Christ. I'm as middle class as they come. I'm probably the middle of the middle class. As middle of the road as you want to get. I'm an extreme centralist. I'm not a rabid fan of the hard left. I'm not a rabid... and I fucking hate the hard right. Jesus Christ, they're scumbags on a different fucking level. But at the same time, I'm like, oh my God, what happened to the sensible people? Where have all the grown-ups gone? Where have all the grown-ups gone? And you see it in every fucking walk of life. You see it in every walk of life in this country. The grown-ups have gone to ground or something. And all that's left is these gibbering idiots, a man-child like Boris Johnson, this guy who is a 7-year-old, petulant 7-year-old, spoiled brat. It's Billy Bunter, right? Who's now in a full-size man's body with a shitload of money, all the contacts he'll ever need, and he's the fucking Prime Minister of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. It's fucking painful for the rest of us, for the people who believe in truth, decency, honour, and a better future for the nation's children. It's a fucking insult that these cunts can get so far in life, and we put up with it. I don't know, because maybe we think, well, maybe if we win the lottery, my child might be privately educated as well, and they can get a leg up in society. Why perpetuate an unequal society? That's all I can say to that. And do you know what? I agree. It's not enough to just say, oh, well, these schools are bad. It's not enough to just make them lose their bullshit charity status. We need to close them down, and we need to close them all down so there's no advantage. It's a bit like when they brought in the smoking ban for pubs, okay? It's no good just saying, oh, well, this one's exempt, that one's... No, it is a blanket ban in indoor spaces for fucking smoking. That is it. Why? Because cigarette smoke is fucking toxic, and it kills people. It chokes them to death. There's fucking 500,000 people die every year from smoking around the world. Probably more than 500,000, isn't it? A good chunk of them are children. Secondhand smoke. In a country where it's really hard to get hold of asthma inhalers in the middle of fucking Zimbabwe. Honestly, it really is. The middle of Zambia. Where's all the money gone? Came in the sun, indeed. Well, that's where we are. The caller said the white pupils were banned from a trip to the Slavery Museum in Liverpool. What? I wish I had caught that because I only came in just like I was making a cup of tea or something. White people were stopped from going to the slavery museum. The slavery museum is there to teach white people of the crimes they committed in the past. Oh my God. Oh my God. I didn't even realise that was the first point he made. My fucking home, in my turf. If you ever are in Liverpool, head down to the Albert Dock, go and check out the Maritime Museum, and in it is the International Slavery Museum. Just go and have a look. Just check it out. Especially if you've got someone in your family who believes this bullshit about Britain's great fucking empire. It wasn't an empire. It was just a fucking racket. That's all it was. The Great British Racket. We went round just raping and pillaging what we wanted from around the world. And don't forget, two very separate and different eras here. People conflate slavery with colonialism. There is a little bit of an overlap in places like South Africa and places like India, but generally speaking, there was the era of slavery, which ended arguably in about the 1860s. And then you had 20 years later, the scramble for Africa, the colonialization of Africa, and the brutality, the incredible brutality that followed, which I've talked about a lot on Hughes the World, which I'm going to be presenting tomorrow, a little segue there, at 10 o'clock, and we'll be going over to Chile. Last week we were talking about the Pinochet of Africa, or the Pinochet of Chad, I think it was. Yeah, it was the Pinochet of Africa, Diaby, but the president there. And then before that, we were talking about Bokassa, who was the leader of the Central African Republic. Now we're moving on to Chile, so we're going to be talking about the actual Pinochet of actual Chile. Again, I'm going to have to give a trigger warning to people about, like, there's going to be some stories that you're going to hear about Pinochet, which are going to fucking make your hair stand on end. You know, the man was a fucking monster in charge of a country. And this is the thing, like, that bothers me so much when people go, oh, we can't get rid of Boris Johnson because someone else bad will replace him. Yeah, someone else bad will replace him, but they won't be as bad because they won't have his charisma. And that cunt, hate him, I fucking hate him, but people fall for his charisma in a way that they won't fall for Rishi Sunak's charisma because he has none. Have you seen him talking about Coke? The fact that he loves Coke, the type of Coke that you get from Mexico. That's the best Coke. It's so awkward and stilted. He doesn't know how to have a conversation like a normal person. It's the one talent that Boris Johnson has. I was saying he's got a talent to do that. Obviously, he just does his own whole fucking Hugh Grant in 4 Weddings and a Funeral bullshit. But at least he seems personable to the average voter, to the average Tory voter. Yeah. Rishi Sunak, nah, hasn't got it. Liz Truss, pork markets. Oh my God. Gus Fring is from Chile. He is indeed. Yoni says private schooling should come with assumed incompetence instead of preferred status. Indeed, Yoni. That is absolutely right. I think that we need positive discrimination. I think we need to have a quota of how many kids from these posh privileged backgrounds are allowed to go into any jobs in the country. And it can't be more than 7%. Can't be more than 7% of the cabinet. Can't be more than 7% of the top police officers. It can't be more than 7% of the clergy. It can't be more than 7% of top athletes. Anything. We have a quota, and we say to half of them who want to, it'd be more than half actually. We say to these people who want to be on all over the television and all over the news every fucking day of our lives. We say to them, sorry, we've already filled up our quota of people who went to private school. So. Sorry, we're going to have to actually have a leader of an English political party, who didn't go to private school. Imagine that. Oh, wow. I'm glad I didn't wrap up a little bit early today, because I do need to wrap up, because David Faulkner has just dropped in 38 Hong Kong dollars into the super chat. So thank you, David. Coming over there from Hong Kong. Good stuff. Black people also need to be taught about slavery, hence the reason why the series Roots was such a seminal moment in the UK. It taught young black people the things they never taught in school. Freckle Puny, that is a great point. Yes, because this stuff isn't taught in schools. It isn't taught in schools the way it should be. I mean, it's got a lot better since my day, back in the 90s. But I'm just going to leave you with something, and I don't want to, join me tomorrow for Hughes of the World about Chile, and, it's a great place. I'll be showing some footage of my time in Chile. Yeah, I just want to say, I am 42 years old. I'm going to be 43 next month, okay? I was born in 1979. And I have had to put up with, in my lifetime, 30 years of Tory government. 30 fucking years of these cunts. And I'm sick of it. So, just saying, if anyone is feeling a little bit impatient, can't be arsed waiting for the next general election, give me a call. Let's do something about it, because these fuckers, I don't want them in office for a single fucking minute more. Absolute scumbags. Anyway, thank you for joining me for PMQs with Graham Hughes. And I'll leave you with a list of my wonderful patrons and YouTube members, which probably needs to be updated. Hopefully, see you tomorrow night on the Graham Hughes Travels channel. And until then, thanks for watching. Thanks for the super chat. Thanks to everyone on Patreon. If you want to follow me on Patreon or give me some money on Patreon, head down to the link below and it says patreon.com/thatgingerscouser. Until next time, I'll say hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.